Have you ever let a potential friendship or relationship crumble before you, just because you were too scared to be an authentic version of yourself when around them? Did you agonise for hours over messaging a person back because you overthink how they'll react? Have you ever gotten so anxious about going to a social event with the people that you really do want to become close with that you opted not to go at all? I know I have. And if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you have too. It can be really disheartening when you watch as someone seems to effortlessly connect with people and converse, when in that same spot you know you'd stumble and overthink even the tiniest details. You start to wonder if there's something wrong with you, if maybe you're just not wired for connection the way others are. This kind of social paralysis, it isn't just shyness, it's something deeper, something tied to identity, fear, and the stories we tell ourselves about how we're supposed to present ourselves in the world. The way I see it, there's some level of self-hatred, parts of you that you want to keep hidden from the world. It's the reason that you agonise over that text back, the reason you try and present a specific identity to people, or the reason that you may isolate yourself from others when you yearn for human connection. It's the fear of being perceived, and the fear of being hurt by connection. What I think makes an anime truly great, and lets me re-watch it over and over again, is by looking at the whole show through a new lens. You can give yourself new insight into the characters, and their motivations, and their flaws. Something that I and many other people overlooked upon first watching Neon Genesis Evangelion is the importance of the hedgehog's dilemma. The fear of connection with others out of fear of rejection and being hurt can most easily be seen with Shinji, because he's the one that we follow and get the most insight into the psyche of. But the effect of the hedgehog's dilemma is the driving force behind all the main characters' actions. Shinji, Asuka, and Misato all exhibit that desire for connection and the fear that comes with it, but all attempt to cope with it in different, equally unhealthy ways. And those coping mechanisms all come from their past traumas and different avenues of their self-hatred. The death of his mother was Shinji's first major loss, but what seemingly caused the real fracture to his psyche and self-worth was his father Gendo abandoning him shortly after. To Shinji, he wasn't just left alone, he was discarded. This is where his desperate need for validation comes from. Shinji doesn't pilot the Eva because he wants to be a hero. He does it because, for once, someone is asking something of him. It's his only way to feel like he has a purpose. Every command from Misato, every compliment, even the faintest acknowledgement from Gendo, these become the only source of his self-worth. What purpose does he have to his father, if not as a pilot? The need for validation is juxtaposed by that fear of becoming close to others. He craves intimacy, he craves belongingness, and he craves acceptance from others, even though he does not love or accept himself. Shinji's way of dealing with the hedgehog's dilemma is avoidance. He believes that by staying distant, by not asserting himself or forming deep bonds, he can shield himself from pain. It's why, in an attempt to receive the validation he needs to exist, while not needing to be hurt by his connections with Misato or Asuka or Rei, he forgoes his agency as a person to become Eva or one's pilot. Watching Shinji can feel frustrating. You want him to just say something, to reach out, to stop pushing everyone away. But if you've ever hated yourself enough to believe that others must hate you too, then I think you know exactly what he's going through. On the surface, Misato seems like an ideal to reach toward. She's confident, self-assured, and competent at her role in Nerve. but beneath that bravado lies someone just as wounded and directionless as Shinji or Asuka. Like them, Misato is shaped by her childhood trauma. In her case, the death of her father during the second impact, and her complicated feelings about his ultimate sacrifice. She admired him and she resented him, and those unresolved emotions warped her perception of love and connection. Her relationship with Kaji reflects this confusion. Though Misato rejects Kaji's advances early on, it's clear that she still craves his affection, her sexuality becoming both a weapon and a shield, a way to prove her own agency, but also a way to quiet the voice in her head that tells her she's unworthy of real love. She needs someone to want her, even if she's terrified of what being truly wanted will require her to reveal. This is Misato's Hedgehog's dilemma. She reaches out with defences already in place to avoid being hurt herself. With her guardianship of Asuka and Shinji, Misato wants to build a makeshift family. Somewhere in her, she believes the connection is still possible. But the more she tries to be there for them, the more obvious it becomes that she fully doesn't know how. Her attempts at warmth often veer into overcompensation or ostracization, while her moments of discipline can feel cold and hurtful. She fluctuates between being a friend, a parent, and a comrade, unsure which role will keep her from getting hurt or from hurting them. With Shinji, Misato sees a mirror of her own vulnerability, someone desperate for affection but convinced that they don't deserve it. Her affection for him is genuine, but it's also tangled up in guilt, projection, and the hope that she can somehow fix something within him that she can't in herself. Misato wants to protect Asuka, but Asuka's rejection of authority and projection trigger Misato's own insecurities. Both relationships are built on the desire to connect, yet are haunted by an ever-present fear that getting too close will only confirm what she fears the most, that she is broken, unlovable, and fundamentally alone. Her efforts to connect are sincere, but are sabotaged by her own internal shame. She hates the part of herself that feels weak, so she masks them with confidence and alcohol and work. But underneath it all, she's just as desperately craves connection, yet fears what it could bring. If Shinji embodies avoidance in the Hedgehog's dilemma, Asuka is its opposite, aggressive overcompensation. Rather than withdrawing in fear of rejection, she forces herself forward, crying out to be seen and to be appreciated, but only on her terms. Her abrasiveness, pride, and arrogance aren't signs of true confidence. They're a fragile armour built to keep herself from crumbling under the weight of her own insecurities.
家庭が現実の話になった。因果なものだな。提唱した本人が実験台とは。
では、あの接触実験が直接の原因というわけか。
精神崩壊。それが接触の結果か。
しかし残酷なものさ。あんな小さな子を残して自殺とは。
いや、案外それだけが原因でもないかもしれんな。
アスカちゃん、ママね、今日はあなたの大好物を作ったのよ。あら、好き嫌いしているとそこのお姉ちゃんに笑われますよ。
毎日あの調子ですわ。人形を娘さんだと思って話しかけてます。
彼女なりに責任を感じているのでしょう。研究ばかりの毎日で娘を構ってやる余裕もありませんでしたから。
ご主人のお気持ちはお察し。だ
から私を見て、ママ、お願いだからママをやめないで。 一緒に死んでちょうだい。ママ、お願いだから私を殺さないで。いや、私はママの人形じゃない。自分で考え、自分で生きるの。パパもママもいらない。一人で生きるの。いや、そんなの思い出させないで。せっかく忘れてるのに掘り起こさないで。そんな嫌なこともういらないの。もうやめて。
Asuka witnessed her mother lose all grip on reality. Unable to even recognize her own daughter, she begs for her mother to look at her, to remember her, to never stop being her mother, but that never comes. From that moment, Asuka vowed to be strong and independent, to grow up faster than others, because needing someone left her vulnerable to abandonment and pain. But that promise to herself was built on self-hatred. Her entire sense of self-worth is based on performance, being the best Ava pilot, the smartest in the room, the most beautiful girl. She flaunts her sexuality towards Kaji in an attempt to validate her own self-worth and be seen. But Kaji never reciprocates those advances, treating her with affectionate dismissal. To Asuka, this feels like a rejection not just of her sexuality, but of her entire being, as she tried to get close, but was once again hurt by the hedgehog's quills. She pushes others away with insults and superiority, because the idea of being truly known terrifies her. If someone saw past her bravado, they'd see the lonely, scared child beneath, and Asuka can't bear that. In episode 9, Asuka and Shinji share the same bed, despite telling Shinji not to do anything while they're asleep. In a very backwards way, she almost wants Shinji to make a move on her. And despite Shinji considering it, due to his own fears and moral compass, he moves to sleep on the ground. Later, in episode 15, Asuka offers a kiss to Shinji to test what he'll do, and is disappointed once again that he puts no effort into it and just stands there passively when it happens. This is why her interactions with Shinji are so emotionally charged. She craves his validation and attention but masks it with hostility. Her advances aren't rooted purely in desire, they're acts of desperation, attempts to force intimacy so she doesn't have to be vulnerable enough to ask for it sincerely. So when Shinji rejects her, it's not just romantic rejection that she feels, it's a confirmation of the core belief that she is fundamentally unlovable. Just to finish up, I'll quickly touch on Rei, but the Hedgehog's dilemma seems to be a much smaller part of her character when compared to the other three, so maybe I'll make a whole video dedicated to her at some point. Rei's relationship to the Hedgehog's dilemma is very subtle. Unlike Shinji, Asuka or Misato, Rei seems almost devoid of fear about connection, but that's because she doesn't view herself as fully human or of deserving of bonds in the first place. As a clone created to serve Gendo's plans, she's always existed in isolation, treated as an object rather than as a person. She accepts loneliness as her default state, but deep down, fleeting moments of connection, like Shinji's kindness towards her, hint at a quiet yearning she cannot fully articulate. However, her sense of self is so fragile that the idea of reaching out terrifies her. If others get too close, they might realise there is nothing inside her worth loving. Rei's dilemma is not the fear of hurting others or of being hurt, but the fear that even if she tries to connect, there is no real person there to be loved. At the heart of Evangelion's characters lies a simple yet devastating truth. The closer we become toward others, the more we risk exposing the parts of ourselves we most want to keep hidden. The Hedgehog's dilemma isn't just a psychological concept, it's a mirror for our own fear that if people truly see who we are beneath our masks, they'll turn away from us. But Evangelion reminds us that connection, even in all its pain and uncertainty, is what makes us human. And maybe, in watching these characters fail and flail in their desperate attempts to be loved, we can find the courage to edge our own goals forward just to feel a little less alone. Thank you everyone who took the time to watch this video. It's taken a while to come out, but I hope everybody enjoyed the final product. Have a good one everyone. See you later.